got the stuff?
Yeah, I got the stuff. Be careful with this. It's powerful. It really works.
Yeah, sure. Oh man, this is gonna be crazy.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ben Quist.
And I'm fitness expert Jeremiah Kruger. And today we're talking about the Slant Board and all of its benefits. All right, so here we are at our new whiteboard. We definitely didn't need to use it in this video, but we're gonna because we got it. So we're here to talk about hips, knees, and ankles in relation to the Slant Board.
Slant board training can be great for knee pain. And many times knee pain is actually a symptom of a root cause of issues at your ankle or your hip joint. So the reason this matters with the slant board is the slant board really helps us manipulate ankle position, which does a lot of really cool things for your exercising, which we're going to show you in a moment.
Offering another perspective, this is not just about movement improvement. The slant board can actually help you build muscle. So for example, when you're doing a squat, muscles like to be stretched and they like to be under mechanical tension. The Goblet Squat on the slant board puts you in a position where, with physics and biomechanics, line of pull, a bunch of other jargon, it puts you in a position where your quad can be very heavily loaded even though you're using a light weight. So how great is that? You can use a light weight and build a ton of muscle versus other exercises where you're going to move really heavy weight to build muscle. Long story short, the slant board can help you build muscle and move better. How great is that?
Pretty great.
I'm going to show you 4 stretches and 4 strengtheners. Here are the 4 stretches. Exercise number 1 is the deep squat. I'm going to step up onto the board and turn my feet outward slightly so that my baby toe is the closest part of my foot to the edge. Heels are a little bit more narrow. Now as I go down, one of my main focus is to keep my knees apart so that they match the angle of my feet being turned out. We really don't want them buckling inward, keeping them wide. Now while I'm down here, I do want to speak a little bit about an old framework that we used to follow that we don't anymore, which is the idea that your knees should not go past your toes. If you want to do a deep squat, you have to have the ability to get your knees past your toes. But something I want to make you aware of is the stress that this can put on your knee if you don't do your squat properly. So one of the fundamental things you want to focus on is keeping your shins and your spine at the same angle. No matter where you are in the squat, shin and spine should be following that same path. There may be a little nuance to that where, depending on the ratio length of your shin to your femur to your spine, you might have to hinge a little bit more, or you might be able to be a little bit more vertical. But in general, the goal is to maintain as close to as possible that parallel line of shins and spine. If I'm going to use this as a stretch, I might spend 30 to 60 seconds down here. Though this is a very fundamental human movement, and it'd be great if you could spend a lot of time down here. Exercise number 2 is to increase our ability to hinge, stretching the posterior chain, those hamstrings, those glutes, and those calves. I'm going to put my foot up the incline so my heel is lower and my toe is higher. And then, as always, with all hinge mechanics, I want to remind you, our pelvis is a bucket of water. You tilt that bucket forward, pour the water slightly forward, and I like to envision each vertebrae individually rolling down as I hinge forward. I want to make sure that I only go down as far as I possibly can while maintaining that pelvic position. And then once you're here, you should get a very intense hamstring stretch and calf stretch. As you do this exercise, make sure that you're rotating your knees outward to keep tension in the outer hip. You can do 2 different things to bias the different parts of your hamstrings. For example, if I bend my knees a little bit more as I go down and drive my pelvis farther backward, the stretch shifts a little bit higher and then a little bit lower in the calf to get the soleus of the calf in the origin part of my hamstring. Now as I keep my knees straighter, the stretch shifts more towards the lower, the knee part of the hamstring, and the knee part of the calf, or the gastroc. To go through repetitions here, or you can hold, and again, I would stay down here from 30 to 60 seconds. Exercise number 3 has 2 variations of lunges. Variation number 1 is with the heel lower, toe elevated to get to the soleus, but also, I'll explain the back leg in a moment, that one's also involved. I'm going to shift down and forward. The goal here is to keep my foot flat and get my knee as far past my toe as I can, and I'm going to feel that deep calf muscle get a stretch, probably a little bit lower towards the heel or the Achilles tendon area of that muscle. I'm going to switch legs and talk about the back leg for a moment. Notice that I'm keeping that leg mostly straight and I'm trying to stay as vertical as possible. That's to get a really good hip flexor stretch. If we're focusing on knee pain for doing this, oftentimes the knee pain is actually a symptom of the root issue being at the hip or the ankle. So I'm getting an ankle stretch on that front leg and a hip stretch on that back leg. This is a very good exercise to do. Now variation number 2, very similar, but the board is facing the other way. My heel is now elevated and my toe is now, what's the opposite of elevated? Lower? Weird, okay. So I'm gonna get back to that split stance for my lunge position. Back leg is still mostly straight, but now I get to try to work on getting that knee as far past my toe as I can. This becomes a really good stretch for the top of the knee, the top of the quad there, or the bottom of the quad, near the top of the knee, shifting down and forward. Again, I can spend time down here and get a really good hip flexor stretch. My quads are pretty flexible, so I don't feel too much of a stretch right here at the kneecap. But if you are someone who's got tight quads or maybe a tight tibialis anterior, lower ankle mobility, your knee is going to feel like it's getting a really good stretch down here. And then again, you might go through repetitions, 10 to 15, or you might hold from 30 to 60 seconds on each side. All right, so exercise number 4 is more of a bonus stretch because it's going to be very challenging for most people. I'm going to place the stick forward with my left hand on it. My left leg is going to go forward up the incline, so heel down, toe elevated. I'm going to take a relatively large stagger, not big enough that I can't drive my hips backward. I still want to be able to pour the bucket forward and pull my butt backwards slightly, keeping a neutral spine. We're doing that revolved pyramid stretch, up and incline, which makes this stretch a million times more intense. This is a very, very challenging stretch, especially if you have any tightness on the outer lateral hip of that leg. I feel this all the way down into my baby toe, keeping that neutral spine. If you're feeling like you're not getting enough of a stretch, you might stagger a little farther backward, assuming you can still keep that neutral spine and drive that pelvis backwards. If I'm gonna hold it, I might spend 30 seconds down here, although that is pretty challenging. This one hurts a little bit. Or I might work on a little strength and mobility portion of this, so I might try to get into that stretch and then use those same muscles to pull me right out of that stretch. So I relax my hip and let myself sink into the stretch, and using those same muscles, I push myself back out of that stretch. That is a very good one. Let me know if you can do that one, because this is an awesome exercise. That's it for the stretches. Here are the strengtheners. All right, here's strengthener number 1. As I said, muscles love to be under a stretch, and they love mechanical tension. A really good and efficient way to do that is to make a muscle long and to make the load far away. So for example, if I want to focus on my quads, I'm going to grab my, what is this, about 1,000,000 pounds right here, 1,000,000 pound dumbbell. I'm going to stay as vertical as I can, so now the lever is pretty far away from my knee. The weight is pretty far from my knee, down and up, staying as vertical as I can. A light weight goes a long way with this exercise. I might do 10 to 15 reps. If your goal is hypertrophy, we now know that 6 to 36 is actually the range, assuming you get near failure. So it doesn't take a massive weight to get to failure with this exercise. So exercise number 2 is an RDL variation. I'm going to take advantage of this decline with my heel higher than my toe. What that's going to do is slack or take away the stretch from my calf, meaning I can bias or emphasize focus on the hamstrings a little bit more here. So the same hinge mechanics apply. Tilt the pelvis forward, rotate the knees outward, and I'm going to drive my butt backwards and then drive hips forward. Because my calves are no longer part of the equation, I might be able to get a little bit farther down, stretching my hamstring a little bit more, while still maintaining a neutral spine. For this one, again, you can vary your rep range or the weight you're using to change the intensity of the exercise and change the outcome of the exercise. So exercise number 3 takes advantage of the specific slant board that we have, where you can elevate it on these little steps. Otherwise, if you have a slant board, you can always just put it on some other sort of step where it's elevated a little bit. The exercise we're going to do is step downs. Now this one is an amazing exercise. Here's why. When I step down, if I have any sort of knee pain at this height, all I got to do is take it off, lower the box 1, and then try again. And I'm going to keep lowering where I'm stepping down from until that knee pain is gone. And then that becomes my starting point. With an exercise like this, you're really working on the hip and the knee at the same time. My quad gets a big stretch, a big strengthen, and my butt's working pretty hard too. You might not even need to hold weight. For an exercise like this, depending on the intention, you might again be anywhere in that range from 6 to 36 reps, happy medium being about 15 on one leg and then 15 on the other. And then rather than progressing the weight that you're using, if it's too easy, you'll just stack it higher. With a larger range of motion, you increase mechanical tension, you increase the stretch, again, muscles like that. So now it's up a little bit higher, and I get to work on that knee with a little bit more intensity than I did when it was lower. So exercise number 4, strengthener number 4 here, again, is a bonus exercise. Not everybody needs this, not everybody's going to be able to do it, but if you want to level things up, here's something to try. We're again taking advantage of the decline, allowing our knee to go a little bit farther forward, making it a little bit easier to stay vertical as we do a single leg pistol squat. And oh boy, those are tough and strong exercises. Many people, not many, some people can hold weights while doing this, which makes it a little bit more challenging. Yeah, but if you really want to level things up, that is a great exercise to work towards. All right, well, there's 8, 9-ish exercises to try. This is far from the capacity to which you can use this piece of equipment, but there's a good bunch for you.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel for more of our content. Give us a like, comment below. We love seeing your comments.
Absolutely. And as always, if you got a friend or family member who is new, maybe they're not new to fitness or exercise, and you want to help them have a long career with fitness and exercise, send them our videos. You might send them something that really makes a difference. Thanks. Whoa. That was real. Okay. I got to do that again.